They know that if I ever find out a lawyer speaking off the record or contrary records, he knows that I will never rely upon him in future. That's what Justice Tandon was saying to you. Make yourself reliable as a counsel to the bench. You may lose one matter, doesn't matter. You are briefed not to win, but you are briefed to place your client's case at the highest possible pedestal. And this is how a counsel earns and develops the confidence of the court, which is very important. And Justice Tandon was hinting at that try to acquire, develop a confidence in court. Court will have this much confidence that he is saying so, this counsel is saying so, it must be some substance in it, and he must be on record, it will be there. He is not saying something contrary to record or out of imagination. So, this is second advice we receive from our seniors, and I think that lesson still hold good after 6 years, even now. Next comes the question of law. Law you gradually learn in course of your practice. Law you can never learn completely. Law is a vastly growing subject, and no lawyer can tell or claim that I know law. If somebody says so, I will suspect him as an empty vessel. Law you learn in course of your career. So what you learn in the beginning is where to find the law. This is you must remember. You read the facts, master the facts, then you give a thought to it, then on this fact, this law, that section, that act, that provision law may be applicable. And where to find that law? This is the thing you learn in course of your training in your chamber, in the senior's chamber or Celestia, whatever you call it. And to gradually go on learning law. I'm still learning law. We come across many problems of law, and I don't think I know it all. You see, law is not a dead subject, not a dead subject. It grows. And to my thinking, accepting some fundamental principles of law, there is no absolute proposition of law. All proposition of law have got some exceptions. Law is flexible. If you tell the facts to the court and persuade the judge with the facts of the case, they will find the judge thinks that yes, justice lies with your client, and they will almost adjust the law accordingly. For example, take the principle of natural justice. You say, very natural justice violation. But we remember there's so many exceptions to the principle of natural justice. Cannot be in straitjacket. Need not be followed in certain cases. Not applicable if you admit it. Those things are there. So, no law is absolute or foolproof. Law will take care of the fact of the case and adjust according to the facts of the case. So primarily be ready, thoroughly ready with the facts. Then comes the question of advocacy in court. Justice Tandon has rightly told you, if a judge puts forward a proposition to you, which you think it is not correct, don't say no on his face. It's amount to confronting the judge. What you should do, that I'm telling you. You should say, very well, my lord, my next point is this. And after some time, I think this is one Aristotle, you'll find the judge has moved slightly in favor of your client's case. Then you come back to that point, to which the judge, without knowing the facts fully, had said no. Now you will find the judge more receptive. You see, in our time when I joined, honestly, we had a more level playing grounds with the judge. Because just you should first ask me, yes, what's the case about? One fact, very glad I say is case for landlord tenant. Yes. What are you asking for? Yes. Tell me on what ground? Ground 1, 2, 3. No, no. Yes. He doesn't make up the mind by listening to you only. And when your adversary lawyer stands up, judge used to say, what do you say to this point? What's the answer to that point? Things like that. I said more level playing grounds because judges would not make up their mind until both sides have been heard. Mine is to keep open in most of the cases. Some cases a gross case maybe. And therefore you have a level playing grounds. And matter hearing used to be shorter. Now the judge is very hard pressed for time. When you move in the court, moving matter, civil division, every whatever maybe, some judges may say, let me just allow me, I'll go to the judgment on the revision or judgment appeal. And he goes to the judgment and appeal and forms his own opinion. A judgment which we have tried to master or understand after reading 3, 5, or maybe several hours, not possible humanly to understand in so many short points. So we'll come back. After reading judgment, the judge sometimes make up his mind. He drops a curtain. Very good. I like the judges who drops the curtain. Because you can pierce the curtain. But if a judge builds a wall, then you'll be banging against the wall. That would have never happened in the 1960s or up to 80s, 90s. Judges were not so hard-pressed, but what? They were entitled to disposal was a point, but decision was more important than disposal. Anyway, that is a change. You have to adjust yourself because of high pressure. The workload our judiciary is now bearing on their shoulder. That is why I first tell you, if you get the total control over the facts, then you can tell the judge that this judgment has not considered this fact, which is relevant. And this way you can, suppose the judge, in reading the judgment, before you have uttered anything, feels the judgment is correct. It is not revisable because of no jurisdictional error or appeal no error. Then you have to point out that these are the relevant facts as to the matter which the judge in the judgment has not considered. Or then, if the point of law involved, you show this is the point of law he has held, but that is contrary to this judgment of Supreme Court or this judgment of High Court. Then you ever get a chance to change his mind. But you do agree. You start with a disadvantage because of present pressure of work. But you find really, as I feel, if they start hearing a matter with a determined, half determined or more determined matter, they have read it and I know, then that leads to prolongation. Then you become more determined to convince the judge, this is wrong, that is wrong. But as it's happened before, what's your case? What's your answer? And then, deciding in the last moment, matter would be disposed of much more quickly than trying to on which side judgment the justice lies by touching the brief or reading the judgment hurriedly. But this is a thing, you have to bear with that and you have to cope with that. That's why I'm giving you instances. You have to be a little more patient, and that's why nowadays you require much more preparation. As Justice Tandon rightly said, when you prepare a case, you must also think what your adversary may say. If your client is one in the court below, you must think, had I been there, what I would have argued, what my adversary would argue. You see, in those days, it was customary to come ready and bring those judgments in court with other side may cite also. We did not have any monopoly in those days. So we had to bring the textbooks and the law journals in specie to the court. And then we have to include in my list of judgments, which I will normally hand over to senior, these are relevant, the judgments with other side may cite also. If you ask the court, whether this judgment has other sides cited, I am not ready for it, I may give me time to deal with this judgment. The time is now it is given. But previously, in the 20th century, it will never be granted. In fact, no lawyer will be very proud to say, well, this is the judgment as I have cited, but I have not anticipated and I have not read it. So preparation in a case requires a lot of not only reading the facts, next is giving your thoughts to it. Place yourself in the position of your adversary and try to think what arguments you would have made had you been on the other side. Then comes up the preparation on your part. Lastly, there was my senior used excellent interpretation of statutes. What he taught me, all his juniors, that when you interpret the statutes, first try to interpret in the manner which can be, with the statute may be interpreted against your client's case. And then think of the answer that what's wrong with the interpretation and why it is not correct. Then by this process, you come to a correct interpretation. You have the views of, mentally you have the views of both and draw a balance somewhere. It is difficult, it will all come to you in course of your experience, in course of time. You cannot be and not expected to be knowing all the case law, the relevant case law on the subject. But now in 21st century you have the advantage. By pressing the buttons, you know more or less know. These are the judgments of case law on this point, which you didn't have earlier. Whether good or bad I do not know. I have got some doubt whether it is good or at all. We had a system of noting up. A library is to come and note up on the judgments for a year or something. You note up the follow-up or dissent everything. But I knew a lawyer, Shankar Ghosh, for example, who will never allow any noting up on his journals, AIR, because you say that will obstruct, that is hinder my memory, process of memory. Memory will become weak if I rely on that. So please take help of modern mechanisms, but don't allow your memory, power of memory, the best computer which God has given is in your brain and its absorbing capacity much more than any computer yet discovered. So try to think of the basic law and the judgments on it. And you find in the modern constitutional matters at least, or in all matters, the same judgment perhaps is being cited very often, either you or by them. So this is the way I will suggest to try to remember the case law, the judgments, as best as you can on yourself. Take a khata, make a note up in yourself. On this subject, this is the judgments. Then you go on adding to it, the dissented, or this and new aspects come. And you, by looking at your own personal notebook or khata, you know, you learn the law, or find out the case law much more quickly than pressing the button and coming across 100 judgments. Then your process starts, which has to be eliminated. You wasted your time. This khata was universally followed and maintained by all lawyers. My senior used to maintain, I have started maintaining after him. Of course, mine is now actually told because she's no more than many years old. So, I wish you all good and wish you all best of luck. And if I may add, I wish you all deserving luck. You have to deserve. One thing we are told in our junior, these were seniors, that will invariably everybody say, don't run after money. Money will let money run after you. The significance of the saying, it is very clear in my mind. If you are deserving, you acquire your competency in, let me, somebody make it in course of 5 years, somebody made 10 years, somebody made fortunate because he has some connections in the profession. You will pick up much more quickly. But any deserving lawyer, I don't think will ever go breathless. We need lawyers who will be able assistants to seniors, and they will never get breathless. And gradually time has come, you come to the stage when you know more than your senior and chamber senior, and you stand on your own feet. That's all, my dear friends. I have told you many things as best as I thought would subserve your object and purpose. Thank you very much for listening.